What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bituation Room podcast live here on a Wednesday, a different time, but the same old place. Thank you so much for being here, everybody, watching live or listening in the future. It's been a little bit of time, even though we did have a phenomenal live show that I am excited to bring to your little eye holes and ear holes because it was recorded. However, you know, the universe is doing what it does. I'm gonna blame her early on. I mean him or whatever. Definitely a they them situation. But we hopefully will have the audio to you. Katie Wilson, who is a Seattle mayoral candidate, just clinched at least this round, the primaries of the Seattle mayoral race, actually getting more votes than the current mayor. And she is awesome. She was wonderful. And so everybody in the Seattle area, go support her, go canvass for her, have a lovely little Pacific Northwest summer, and get out the vote for her in November. And of course, Ijoma Olua was incredible. It was just such a good show, and it was so much work. But thank you all. If you did go, thank you for coming out. There are more chances to catch me live, not a live Bituation Room, but I'll be in Houston on August 28th with Matt. That is a Thursday, just before Labor Day weekend. So don't go nowhere. Go somewhere on Friday morning. Everyone's going Thursday. Go Friday morning. Come out to see me. Get tickets. Patrons get $5 off. The wonderful patrones. And also, of course, October 13th, which is a Monday, we're going to be in Brooklyn, New York, co-headlining the Bell House. So really excited to be back there. On the show today, oh my God, there's so much to talk about. We're going to talk about the economy, finally. It's here. It's happening. It's bad. We all knew it, but now we've got the numbers to prove it. Comedian Brandie Posey is going to be joining me to talk a little bit about that. We are also going to be joined by a former Customs and Border Patrol agent who is now and has been an immigrant rights advocate. She has been on this program before, and she's just phenomenal, and I'm excited to get the lowdown from Jenn Budd. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get into it. We're going to get a little insight into what's happening over in Texas or not happening in Texas. And, we're going to do some Orange Man batting, and we're going to do the fart song, and we're going to fuck off into the night. I hope that sounds good to everyone listening. And remember, this is still the live podcast. It is still the podcast for those of you listening. But that in such heinous times, I'm really trying to pivot and do more long-form video essays a la News Broke. So our last one was about Kirsten Sinema, who is now currently a crypto lobbyist for Coinbase. Not just any crypto lobbyist, like a crypto lobbyist for MAGA, like for these psychos who want to privatize Greenland and things like this. So worst of the worst. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to watch all those videos. There's a playlist on YouTube. Also, as a podcast, you can listen. I prefer watching just because the wonderful Brent Godin, who's been crushing it with the edit, and the reason I can do this, I would just suggest you also watching them because they're fun. They're a fun little view. So yes, thanks to all the patrons, I'm able to do that longer form stuff because it's a lot of days of research and work and joke writing. And maybe one day, some people are like, I want to see you in a studio. What, this is not good enough? But maybe one day I can actually be, in a studio at a desk. And thanks to the patrones, maybe that will happen. Patreon.com/Bituation Room is where you go to support this labor of love. $5 a month, $10 a month, all the things. So many perks, discounts on the American Prospect magazine, both physical and digital. Access to our AMAs, which we need to have one of those very, very soon. Yes, if you're hearing my voice, I'm under the weather. I am just like trying to jujitsu, whatever the hell is coming at me. But I couldn't find my mask in SeaTac Airport, and so I'm pretty sure I have typhoid. So that's also that also happened. And with that, guys, I'm gonna let's start it. Let's get it started. Let's do it. Everybody put your bitch caps on. This is What Are You Bitching About? this was something that happened a couple weeks ago and something I've been meaning to discuss, but I am really glad that so many liberals and pundits and Democrats even, and, your Hillary Clintons, I'm glad they're coming around to the idea that, hey, mass starvation of a population is a bad thing, probably a red line. We should probably say something about it. What I am pissed about, however, is that there is no more information that we have now, right? 22 months into this genocide. There's no more information that we have now than we had a year ago, right? Like, none of this is new. The mass starvation, the putting Gazans on a diet, the calorie counting, the nefarious ghettoization of the population of Gaza has been happening. And so, yeah, it does bother me, and I bitch about the fact that there are people who are now saying, hey, I don't know, AIPAC's pretty bad. I don't know, this Gaza starvation, maybe that should be a red line for Democrats. When a Democratic president was overseeing it, they were very silent. And this is not to take shots at Pod Save America, but if they had actually been honest with their audience or done a little bit of digging or decided to talk about this issue honestly a year ago, maybe Pod could have saved America.
I think Democratic candidates should take money from AIPAC or vote to fund military support for Israel anymore. Like, I really don't. In this government, absolutely not. And that especially includes, I think, the next Democratic nominee for president.
Things I want to see Democrats at least calling for is cutting off military assistance to Israel. It's a rich country, by the way. They don't need our $3 billion a year. And hands up, right? Barack Obama signed a 10-year MOU for $3.3 billion a year. So we're part of the problem here. Let's correct it. I would like to see talk about sanctioning Israeli government officials who use genocidal rhetoric or who talk about ethnic cleansing openly. We should support a ceasefire resolution at the UN. We should demand that international press be allowed into the Gaza Strip to report on what's happening without an IDF minder. It's insane. The press still can't.
So that's Tommy Vitor. And to be 100%, Tommy Vitor has been way better on Gaza than the Johns and, the other folks who are on Pod Save. But what's really painful is that the reality was, and it's always like, the reality was at the time was that Joe Biden, whose brain was actively melting and we could all see it, started a war or began, a greenlit a war, an all-out assault that quickly had genocidal hallmarks when you're preventing births, when you're actually attacking hospitals, right? All of those things, when you're starving people, when you're limiting the amount of aid, when you're going after aid workers, on and on and on, all the cases that South Africa laid out. And yet at the time, both of those things, first of all, we couldn't talk about Biden's brain melting because we were at war, right? So they stopped talking about that. Remember, Ezra Klein a little bit started talking about in the beginning, and then they left it. And then it was like, we were at war. We've got to, fall in line. And everyone who's talking about, hey, maybe a Democratic president who says he believes in human rights should stop this was sidelined and silenced and vote blue no matter who. And you want Trump to come back. And now, of course, they're all in the mentions and they're in the comments section going like, ha ha, you got what, this is all because of you because you didn't vote for Kamala, even though, number one, I did encourage all of my followers to do that and vote defensively. But on top of that, you had the uncommitted movement that was like, please just put a Palestinian speaker up there and we promise, we will vote for you. We just need to see that you're going to change on this issue. You had people launching at the last minute a vote swap operation, right? Where they were like, I'm going to swap my vote for someone in a swing state and on and on and on. So what I am bitching about is that it is not the people who rightfully pointed out that this was a losing issue morally and politically. It was the gatekeepers. It was the liberal pundits that decided they weren't going to touch this issue. And AIPAC has been donating money to Republican election deniers from 2020 openly. They have been openly primarying in swing districts, trying to get the Republican in office. And yet, all these senators take photos with Netanyahu. Everyone speaks at the AIPAC conference. So yes, let's build the big tent. Let's work towards doing exactly what they said. Let's do divestment. Let's do sanctioning. Let's stop this. But also, let's be very clear about what happened. I'm really not done with the postmortems on 2024. And I have smoke for the left too. You know I got smoke for the left, but this is my smoke. It's like, oh, gee, everything we're seeing now, we knew a year ago, and longer. I mean, way longer. So yeah, welcome to the reality that is the ethno state of Israel. Pod save bros, but when you next get a senator on your show, you need to actually hold their feet to the fire. That's the test. That is the test. If you get access to these folks, you can ask them about Israel because you should, right? And meanwhile, they were having on all these senators early on. I'm sorry, last thing, right when Trump was confirming, when the Senate was confirming all of Trump's nominees, they were having them on and going like, hey, what's going on? What do we do? What? How am I gonna? Then those senators turn around and confirm people like Sean Duffy, right? Like you have the power, you have the access. So ask some real questions. Hold their feet to the fire. And that's what I'm bitching about. And let's bring in. Actually, before we bring her in, I have to let you know. Clearly, I get upset. I get upset sometimes, and sometimes I need to calm down. I need to chill out, and that is why I turn to my friends at sunsetlakecbd.com. You guys, there is something new going on at Sunset Lake CBD. It's very exciting. I don't know if you guys are the people that grab a drink just to kind of unwind and then you feel kind of yucky and crappy and you're like, eh. But the act of drinking something, of like sipping something, is really nice. Well, Sunset Lake CBD has what they call lifted teas. They have original, which is a twist on iced tea, and mint green. And they all have 5 milligrams of hemp-derived delta-9 THC, equivalent to your standard dispensary edible. They differ from edibles in some ways because they're super fast-acting. So you're like drinking it, and kind of like you drink a beer, like you're feeling the effects. 15 minutes. They're lightly caffeinated, and again, they're an alternative to alcohol. I love this kind of stuff, and they're really good. They're actually delicious. So check them out, Lifted Teas, and you get 20% off your entire order with coupon code FRANTIFA, FRANTIFA at checkout. Love the guys and the people at Sunset Lake CBD. And also, this show is also brought to you by Factor Meals. I don't know who among you have not tried Factor, but please do it, because they're always fresh, never frozen, like surprisingly yummy, and kind of that perfect portion that you need in the middle of the day. For me, I'm like, I grab them for lunch, quick, easy, microwave them, and you get 50% off plus free shipping at factormeals.com/bituation. Spell it out, BITCHUATION, 50 off. Use code bituation50 off to get 50% off plus that free shipping. Bituation 50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off plus free shipping. Get delicious, ready to eat meals delivered to your doorstep. Again, not frozen, like chef prepared. They've got all kinds of options, keto and vegetarian, and like protein heavy, so you can get that, like, your little like LA, all I eat is chicken and green beans diet. I usually add a bunch of potatoes, but the point is factormeals.com. Thank you for being a sponsor. And let me bring in, for the rest of the show, she's a comedian and the co-host of the Lady to Lady podcast everyone needs to listen to. Also the host of the Picture This comedy show and the proud owner of a record label called Burn This Records. Please welcome Brandie Posey.
Hey, Francesca. Good to see you. Crushed your ad reads. Crushed them.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sitting here. I'm just like, yeah, she's getting it. I love it. That's
Dude,
a pro.
I don't know. My brain, and then I don't get yelled at because I'm doing everything on this show.
Yeah, it's a real talent to pivot from like, why weren't you here for the genocide to Factor?
Yeah.
But you do it well, and I appreciate it.
Some things should be easy. And
yes.
So that's why that's like my new slogan for Factor Meals. Brandie, it's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah.
And yet you're here in LA and things have deeply unraveled when it comes to the state of our civil liberties. I want to ask you what you're bitching about, but I also know you've been doing a little bit of like, anti-ICE solidarity work that I'd love for you to expand on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of tied in because what I'm bitching about is waking up at 5 a.m. I'm not. And honestly,
Solidarity.
so it's a hard hour to be awake. But
Yes.
I work with a bunch of different leftist organizations here in LA, and I volunteer with the DSA sometimes. And the DSA, along with the National Day Laborers Organizing Network, they have adopted 5 Home Depots around the Los Angeles area. And we basically, from the hours of like 6 until 10 or 11, we have multiple people, about like 8 to 10 people per shift at different points around these Home Depots, watching out for ICE. Basically, there's, I don't want to give away the tactics of how we do it, but we do have like little pink vests, which is very
Nice.
fun. And we basically, like, the most important thing is to catch them before they arrive, basically. So we are trying to see them to be able to like warn the day laborers, like, hey, either take off or go hide.
Yes.
The employees at a lot of these places are also very sympathetic, thankfully. So we're involved talking with them too. But yeah, it's a good thing to be able to do. Here's the thing, like, everybody I think wants to be helping right now, and there are things for just a couple of hours a day you can lock in. There's people needed at all times for all sorts of different stuff. I'm also helping out like a different organization downtown with like whose members don't feel comfortable leaving their house, and they are putting together grocery bags and stuff.
Oh
and
my
just
God,
like
that's amazing.
yeah, and people are driving like just food to people's houses so they have fresh food. So
I mean, what's crazy is that we're kind of living, you were also, I remember doing some solidarity work in the wake of the fires, and we're living in this like 6-month period. I mean, everything has happened to LA. Like, seriously, I'm just like, cool. Is there going to be an 8-pointer? Yeah. Like, fine. That fits with what's happening. But there was so much solidarity after the fires, and you're not really seeing as much of it now. Which, I mean, there is some, obviously this case in point, but it's really the organizers who've already been doing this work. National Day Laborers Organizing Network has been there. But a lot of this is like making it from the ground up.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to say, like, with the fires, like, a reason you're not seeing it in the same way now too is the people that were leading the charge in the fires and a lot of the organizational spaces that I was in were Latinos in our community.
Exactly.
So many, those were the people, they had the organizations in place. They were on the ground. They were doing cleanings first and foremost. Like, they were spearheading so much of that. So I really do believe that it is like our city's duty to be showing up for them as much, if not more, currently. And people need to get on board and take this very seriously, because they were here for us and we need to be here for them.
Totally, 100%. And the other thing is, like, I think that, there's, breaking news that Home Depot is actually allowing DHS to like scan license plates in Home Depot in their parking lots. And so I know, but yet I know the workers, as you mentioned, and even some of the managers are not down with this behavior. They're not down with what corporate is doing. And to me, it's like, like we've seen with other labor movements and especially in retail, I do think that the workers, as this grows and develops, will have a role to play, and like local managers. And that's sort of, I remember what, Endelon, some people are calling for a boycott, and that's good. But also there's an effort to be like, how can we actually pressure up and get management to, get the head of Home Depot is no longer that big ass like Trump supporter, but like it's some other ghoul, and trying to get them to basically like say, sorry, you can't attack people on our premises. Like, what the fuck is that? Like going shopping and buying like plants or whatever. I was out there once and I was just like, what are these people? What must people think? Like, how the dissonance of like folks being disappeared while you're like going in and shopping is wild.
Just running my errands. You're like, no, you cannot let this become normalized, because it is part of a slippery slope that we've been sliding down for quite a while anyway. I mean, you need to be, and a lot of these places too, having people there watching, these people don't want to be perceived. ICE does not want to be perceived. So it's like the more people that are there watching, and are like that is a big deterrent for them showing up and actually not doing anything. Because we actually at one of the locations I was working, there was a truck that was coming solo, and this guy would pull in. He had all the markings of what was probably a nice vehicle. He would throw up a divider in the front window, and he would sit there all day. We never saw him get out of the car, and he was just clearly watching to see what was happening, but eventually left. So it's like
was he alone?
We don't know who was in the car.
Yeah.
We know it was like one vehicle that had all the markings of like, this is probably one doing a scouting of some kind. But if he saw, and he was there several days, and he saw sustained effort and organization, and that Home Depot has not been hit, because I think it's just being like, oh, okay, this is not, there are easier targets.
There's a cohort here that's yeah. I think it's great. I mean, and it's just, it also, whatever. I have so much more to say, but it's dope that you're out there. I'm sorry it's at 5 a.m. I feel you.
It's okay.
As someone who gets up early for my kid. Not even that early. She's even better than that. But hey, I'm sure there's good convos and chilling, and then you just tuck yourself in at 9.
Absolutely. It's honestly, it's great. And like the people that are out there doing this, they're great. It's meeting more people. Like LA can be a very lonely place. Go meet somebody that's aligned with you politically that you might not have met otherwise. Like, I mean, honestly, you're also like cracking jokes while you're like looking around at the same time. It's like really great once I'm there. It's just the alarm. It's the worst part. But then you get there, and also like there are these workers that they do that every day, and like they're there to work, and they're just like, hey, thanks for getting on my schedule.
They have to like do the manual labor for the rest of the fucking day. Yeah,
exactly. It's such a reminder to like how cushy your life is, and like to be like, no, like you contribute to your city, you know, do what you can to help your neighbors.
Everybody, Brandie's the best. We love Brandie. And we gotta get into a couple of news items first. I don't think you've been here. This was a very half-hearted attempt, but this is our new segment I call Orange Man Bad. Here we go.
Okay, great.
Thank you. She's swaying exactly how I want her to sway. Orange Man and his transportation secretary are looking into building a nuclear power plant on the moon in order to compete with China. Okay, and all we need to build it is a big loan from China. If they could just give us money, we swear that we just need their money to beat them. Trump and the Orange Man might release the transcript of Ghislaine Maxwell's meeting that she had with Trump's personal lawyer just before she was transferred to what is known as Club Fed, which is a cushy minimum security prison in Texas. Apparently, she said Bill Clinton 15 times, and now she gets ice cream on Tuesdays. RFK Jr. just canceled $766 million in contracts to develop a vaccine against the bird flu while simultaneously gutting food safety standard. Sorry, I just interrupted myself to start looking into a move to Canada. I just could not finish that. And finally, FEMA workers are being redirected to work for ICE, probably as social media handlers and wardrobe coordinators for Kristi Noem. All right, you know, everything will be on fire, including her outfits. And that is Orange Man Bad. Here we go. Thank you, Matt Lieb, for this song.
It's great. You know, I keep this. I have this shark that is a stress ball on my desk, and I just keep pumping it during this show. Francesca,
pump that shark. That's great.
When that moon news broke, I had several friends text me, and I said, I need to compartmentalize this until tomorrow at 3:00. I can't think about it until then.
Moon news. So much moon news. You know, but like the moon is a pretty good place to put a nuclear reactor. Like what the moon, what was the moon for? The tides?
Look, Roland Emmerich made a movie called Moonfall a year or two ago that says what happens if the moon gets out of tilt. The moon is also a spaceship in that movie. Don't worry about that part. But that movie, I believe what would happen. Bad things happen if we lose the moon. Let's not nuke the moon.
Try not to nuke moon.
Also, we've lost to China. Just like
Yeah. Just
be happy
make
being
it easy.
just like we can be honestly, frankly, we should just be an honorable mention at this point. We don't deserve to place. Come on.
Let them take over. Take your hands off there's nobody in the driver's seat anyway.
No.
No,
we're just a Waymo waiting to be set on fire.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Let's get into this week. So many things happen, but only 2 in my book. This is the week where. Okay, this was the week where all of my notes. Ahí están. Okay, I found them. Guys / Brandie. The economic havoc that Trump has been sowing is now being reaped in the broader economy. The Trump tariffs, the back and forth, the will he, won't he. The job numbers finally came in and they're trash. They are so bad. So we added 73,000 jobs in July, which I figure is mostly just ICE agents.
Yeah.
And apparently, the Bureau of Labor Statistics also cut the prior 2 months of reporting. So it was 250,000 jobs added. They cut it by 250,000 jobs, which means in the 3 months, growth was 35,000 jobs, which is the slowest job growth since April of 2020, in right smack dab in the maybe we'll all die moment.
Yeah.
So 35,000 jobs. So I guess that was the first 2 months, or the 3 months before, and then 73,000 in July. It's bad. It's bad. It's so bad that, of course, Trump had to call it fake. He said last week's jobs report was rigged, just like the numbers prior to the presidential election were rigged. That's why in both cases, there was massive record-setting revisions in favor of the radical left Democrats. Those big adjustments were made to cover up and level out the fake political numbers that were concocted in order to make a great Republican success look less stellar. I will pick an exceptional replacement because he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, even though she works underneath his Department of Labor head. Whatever. When I first read this, I was like, this is super authoritarian, and not just in the fasci way, but in, some leftist governments. I remember when I used to live in Buenos Aires in Argentina, like nobody really trusts the economy report out of the government, no matter which way, because it's been cooked for so long that it's like no longer independent. It just kind of depends on like how you're feeling and how your community is and like whether you can put food on the table. But that's sort of where we are, is like the books are being cooked. What you're seeing is not actually happening. Here he is actually on CNBC. This is Orange Man being asked by a conservative finance commentator, like, yo, you can't, this is not a lie. It's not just made up. Oh, here we go. Franny's got this. What's happening? Play, my guy.
The incredulous look on his face is already great.
Yeah.
Just from the freeze frame.
Oh, I know why.
And certainly suboptimal, but rigged? Where do you get the notion that it's rigged, or do you have any evidence there?
It is antiquated, but it's also very political. And, I had an election recently where I did very well, won every swing state, won the popular vote, won everything, all right? Won all the counties. It's, I think 87% of the counties were Republican up. That's never happened before. And yet I had to go through hell. And just days before the election, they put out numbers that it was...
Old man, what are you talking about? It's going back to his numbers. Okay.
Like the country.
I've never seen someone so mad at winning shit. Like, him just being mad that he actually won the election, just like what they're doing now, where they're trying to say that like Russia was swung the 2016 election. What, in what direction? In your direction, dog. You were the one who won.
Yeah, for
Anyway,
real. It's crazy.
there's a little bit more.
It was on fire. It was doing so well. And then they did a revision about 2 weeks later, and the revision was down by almost 900,000 jobs. You remember that? And I said, I said, what would have happened? What would have happened if I lost? Think of it. I would have said, they gave phony numbers, and then they revised them a week and a half later.
Those were benchmark numbers, though, Mr. President. That happens. They do that. They do that twice a year, and it reconciles the monthly figures with like the overall numbers. And it was a big number. And obviously,
the numbers were rigged. The numbers were rigged. Biden was.
Okay, so the numbers were rigged. He's mad at Biden's numbers. But Brandie, worst jobs reports since the beginning of COVID.
Yeah. No, that's like giving everybody a gig job in our neighborhood. Like that for the country. Like that's that's how.
Yeah. 73,000, 75,000.
That's crazy.
It's nothing. No, and like it took him 6 months, but he did it. We're back in COVID. All we need is we need bird flu. I probably have it right now. And yeah, but it's, again, of course, all of this is because of the tariffs. Corporations are now saying they're starting to raise prices, because what had happened was that so many of the goods that people were buying had already been purchased at like that price. So they were already imported.
Yep.
Now, under new tariff laws, and after the stockpiles run out, you're going to start to see things like appliances and all that going up, food, groceries, on top of the fact that we are disappearing farm workers, right? And food, like the fields are lying fallow. All of this is coming down. And for you and I, who rely on people wanting to go out and like spend some money and like see a live comedy show and have a couple drinks, that's also where people are pulling back.
One of the first places people cut affects us very directly. Patreon.com, everybody.
Yes.
For keeping it going. Yeah, no, it's the way that it goes through everybody is crazy. And hey, here's a question. Maybe pass something that doesn't let us AI away the few jobs we actually do have. Because I've had so many websites I've had to interact with in the last couple of weeks that all of the support, all of the customer service is now gone completely. And I'm like, no, those were jobs. I used to talk to a lady. She lived in Atlanta. She helped me with my Spectrum bill. Like, what's happening now?
Oh God. Yeah, no. That's exactly right. And like Howard Lutnick, or Nutlick, as I like to say, he's like, this is the pain, Brandie. Like, this is what we're supposed to wait. We have to go through a pain period so that we can start to take, Foxconn jobs of assembling iPhones for $12 an hour, or whatever competitive, salary puts us on par with China, right? Like, and so we just have to wait, because these jobs are going to come around. And it's not like, it's just so fucking insane. And like, it kind of, I don't know. It's a weird social experiment that I hate. I hate all of it. I hate the fashy stuff, but this experiment, and their excuse right now is like, oh, just wait until the big beautiful bill is implemented and everyone gets kicked off of Medicaid and your healthcare goes up exorbitantly and we get tax breaks. Like, we're gonna give tax breaks to motherfuckers exactly who they are praying. They're trying to figure out how to AI away our jobs.
Yeah, no, it's very maddening. And once again, a thing that, much like in the beginning of the show, we're talking about Gaza, a thing that the left has been yelling about for years, and it keeps happening. I wish if we could just be, God, it is so isolating to be a canary. Tweet. It's bad over here. It's bad. Could anyone please tweet? Oh, I'm dead. Okay, great.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, I told you so is a sad position to be in. It's a rough position to be in.
Yes.
But yes, everything is sort of coming to a head right now. And yeah, we will see. I hope Democrats can message on this. And you're absolutely right. I'm glad you brought the AI piece into this, because kind of like APAC, if anyone messes with AI, No, disqualifying
Completely.
as a candidate. Again, when we talk about that other level, because we really, in the meantime, we're going to be screwed. We are the ones who have to look out for each other.
The good thing is, though, I think that like there is, much like the beginning of COVID and like that first year especially, there's a chance for radicalizing people to the left in a way that like and like the only logical answer to this, if you're going to take away our jobs, needs to be UBI or some sort of like state money coming. That's just the only way to do it.
Milton Friedman was in favor of UBI because he was like, well, we got to do something with the pores, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Do you want your head on a spike or do you want to pay my rent? Like that's becoming the option.
Yep. They want the former.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Let's get into it because, this is all going to bite Republicans in the butt.
Yeah.
But if they prevent voters from actually having a chance to voice their discontent, they have nothing to worry about. And that is exactly what's playing out in Texas as Texas Republicans, specifically Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, are trying to, they're holding a special session. This is a week after the floods that killed dozens of people, right?
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Was it 134, something like this? Many, I'm sure still missing, right?
Yeah.
Right after that, they were like, oh no, we're going to hold a special legislative session, not to talk about emergency FEMA funding or anything like that. No, to talk about gerrymandering our state even more to get rid of 5 Democratic districts. And of course, imagine who it gets disenfranchised in those Democratic districts, Black and brown people. And so that we have a safe cushion in Congress. And because of that, Democratic Texas legislators have fled the state to deny Texas Republicans quorum so they can't move forward with this mid-cycle, gerrymandering, the redistricting, which usually happens every 10 years after the census gets released. And it's just one piece of how they're trying to disenfranchise people. But J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, is now allowing, and Hyatt Air is now allowing Democrats to stay in Illinois for as long as they want. Get a little spa treatment at the Hyatt. However, a bomb threat was just called in because of course it's Democrats in one place. But this was a really powerful moment. Here's Jasmine Crockett out in front, talking with the Texas Democrats. Remember, she's a congresswoman from Texas.
Everyone that's been asking, where are the Democrats? Well, here they are. For everyone that's been asking, where is the fight? Well, here it is. But let me tell you something. Don't leave them out on a ledge by themselves. They need to know that you, the American people, stand with them because they are standing for you. There's so many people that they will never meet, but they understand the importance of making sure that they have a voice when it comes to their government. They understand the importance of standing for what democracy is and making sure that it does not fall by the wayside. They understand that we have a Timmu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of the United States. Well, I got another thing to tell you, sir. The Democrats, no matter whether we're talking about these Texas House Democrats, or whether we're talking about the governor from Illinois, the governor from California, or whether we're talking about New York, or I can go through the states and it's not just the governors. It is the state houses. It is the state senators. It is those congressional delegations that are saying, do what you got to do and I will fight and I will win and I will earn my seat back to the people's house in D.C. I am here to tell you that time is up for playing in our faces. The Democrats are not going to stand for this any longer. We know that we are standing for the people. And so long as we stand for the people, I absolutely believe that people are going to stand for us.
Okay, I just love this.
Yes.
I think, Jasmine Crockett's someone who, I believe took some crypto money. I don't agree with her on everything, but the fight is there. And what she is saying is we all have to have, especially these Texas Democrats backs in this. And it's interesting, Brandie, because they're finally finding a fight. Like,
finally. Thank you.
Yeah. But it's weird because defund the government, allow ICE and thugs to just run rampant in your so-called sanctuary cities and states. But now Newsom and Kathy Hochul, people who are like proud centrists, are like, okay, now you're openly, removing seats. And here's Newsom said, we're not going to roll over. We're going to fight fire with fire. We're going to punch above our weight in terms of the impact, what we're doing. And I think we're going to be, and I think that should be absorbed by those in the Texas delegation. Whatever they're doing will be neutered here in the state of California. And what he is suggesting, what he is saying, and what he's doing is calling a special session in the California legislature to create, I believe, 3 to 5 new districts, Democratic districts, and gerrymander in opposition, which I think is real progress, because so much of what we've been told, especially around the filibuster and any kind of procedural thing that Democrats could do to help us and to fight for real democracy and real representation, they're like, no, we can't do that, because what if the Republicans do it back to us?
Yeah.
And you're like, they're doing it. They're the ones doing it right now.
They're doing it in the first place. How about we be proactive and how about you show your fucking teeth for once?
Yes.
Do you have them? Half the party doesn't have them anymore.
No, they're all veneers. Yeah. Half the party doesn't have them is exactly right.
The ones that do have them need to start showing them. And I'm excited to start seeing that for sure.
No, right. And so apparently Hochul in New York is barred by a constitutional amendment. So she'd have to get that through. But Gavin Newsom could act on this right away, which is great, and because it seems like eventually the Texas legislators will have to go back. They'll have to make it back home, and this will go forward, which is wild. I mean, it really is disgusting and wild. And the fact that, I'm sure there are lawsuits. I'm sure they will be elevated, and who knows? I'm sure the Supreme Court will hand, Texas Republicans another win. But this is the only way they can win, is by cheating. And, the other thing that's interesting about Newsom, the final thing is, he says that by 2030, I believe, we will go back to an independent redistricting commission here in California versus leaving it to the legislature. But he knows the legislature is obviously Democratic dominated. Yeah. And so he feels like, okay, once we write things, once the fucking tablecloth isn't so far off to the right of the table, then we can start talking about, fairness.
Yeah, no, exactly. I like the fail safes that he's kind of built into all of this. It's appreciated, and it's the kind of outside the box thinking they need to be doing, because ultimately fascism is also cowardice, and if you step to it, it will back down in certain ways. They take for granted that it has been an easy path for them in lots of ways. You make any of this actually hard, and they have to actually fight. They're stupid and they're cowards, and it will become much more difficult for them to do everything if we.
And they're lazy.
And they're lazy.
They're incredibly lazy, and they don't think that they're gonna, have to hear it from their constituents, and that is not true. Brandie, I could talk to you forever, but is there anything else you want to leave us with? Parting words of wisdom, new things that are happening for you in your world, comedy, shows.
If anybody out there, I own a DIY record label that I work with a lot of amazing comics around the country, predominantly people that are the pillars within their own communities. Nobody is famous, but they are the people that make the shows run, that interrupt your dinner dates. These are if you've ever
you mean
had
when the shows are happening at at a restaurant?
At a restaurant, yeah. If you've ever had that happen to you, those are the people's albums I'm putting out. Amazing comics all over the country who are the reason that local scenes are healthy. Basically, they're very, very funny, awesome people. That's at Burn This Records. You can find us Burn This Records on Instagram. Also, Burn This Records on YouTube, because we're going to start having video come out in the latter half of this year. Burn This Podcast. I do long form interviews with everybody on the label, and it's just trying to right the balance of alt-right fash in the world, but also within our community as well. Because comedy, man, we'll talk later about that off mic.
No. I mean, it is a, and also I think that the comedy podcast bros have been very revealed to be transactional idiots. And so, and we know so many wonderful comics. And so that's dope. They're doing that. And it's comedians from all over the country, correct?
Yeah. People from all over the country. Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
love it.
awesome. There's amazing, great comics in all of your cities, and they haven't done Kill Tony. I'll just say that. If anyone wants recommendations, I'll give them to you, because there is an amazing middle class community of comics out there who are working very hard to put out good stuff by good people.
And this is what we're going to
Yeah.
need going forward,
Yeah.
because we know the line in the sand has been drawn when it comes to the oligarchs that run all of the media companies, including the one that this is streaming on.
Yeah.
They, you know, I was going to bitch about like Disney and Hulu completely collapsing. You got Comcast spinning off its news. Everything is becoming more consolidated, less focused on real information and good stuff. And there's going to be fewer, you know, swings on new comedians getting specials and all that. So it's like, we have to create that culture. And I feel like a lot of people would pay, I mean, God, another subscription service, but a subscription service is something like getting albums and, you know, specials and seeing comics and supporting them directly and circumventing places like Spotify and whatnot.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. If you guys, if you can get off Spotify, just FYI, Tidal is actually a really great app, and every time you stream, Tidal is pretty great. Also, every stream is a penny to the person, which does not sound like a lot, but Spotify is 0.0005 cents. So in comparison, it's a crazy amount of money to support your artists.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
I haven't messed with Tidal since the Beyonce release. I have it.
Yeah.
But I need to get back to it.
It's gotten better. It's actually like they've done a good job with it as an app. Yeah, I'm a big Tidal fan for sure.
Okay. All right, Jay-Z. I don't know if I forgive you for everything, but
you don't
Brandie
have
Posey, you don't have to.
Compared to everything else though.
Compared to Spotify, it's Spotify's 500,000 white parties at Diddy's house. Anyway, Brandie Posey, everybody follow Brandie Brandazzle, correct?
Brandazzle on all the socials. Yes, please.
And listen to Lady to Lady. I was on not so long ago and it was so fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandie. Come back real soon.
Absolutely. Anytime.
And thank you, everybody who is here and chilling. Jendi asks, question, how does moving out of Texas help the redistricting? So they can't pass it without Democrats there because they don't have quorum for the legislature. So they have to get it through. They know they have the votes, like they have the majority, but they have to have a quorum. They have to actually have the legislators there to run roughshod over democracy, and they don't. So that's what leaving the state is doing in the meantime. Anyway, let's move on. I'm so excited to have her back on the show. Former senior Border Patrol agent turned immigrant rights activist and the author of the book Against the Wall, which is out now. Please welcome Jenn Budd.
Hey, how you doing?
Jenn, welcome back to the show. It's been a couple years.
Has it? Yeah, maybe a year or two, I guess. I don't know. Time flies.
Time flies, and everything's gotten better, right? Everything's...
I know. I'm a millionaire. Are you a millionaire?
I am a gajillionaires, and I have all the monies. And, you know, for people who don't know who you are and your story, just give us a quick, who are you? Why are you where you are, and why, you know, give us the Jenn Budd.
Okay,
lowdown.
So the quickest lowdown is grew up in Alabama in the 70s and 80s, graduated college, top of my class, was going to go to law school to be a civil rights attorney. Something called the Border Patrol was hiring, never heard of it. Immigration wasn't a big thing. So I joined the Border Patrol. And I did that for 6 years. So I knew I was gay back then. And they, you know, so they said they'd send me to California. I thought that sounded like a good idea. I had a pretty traumatic home life. And so I was trying to escape that. Thought I'd go to law school a little later on. Joined the Border Patrol. It took about 6 years for me to have enough of it and resign in protest for a variety of reasons. And then I kind of went and hid out for many years trying to deal with the things that I saw and the things that perhaps I participated in. And it caught up with me in 2015, a massive suicide attempt. And then I decided to look at my own culpability in all this and responsibility in all this, and face that I have had racist problems, still will always have racist problems, obviously. And I decided to tell the truth about the Border Patrol. So I wrote a book about the Border Patrol and all the shit we do. So
thank you for that. The long the short of it, but everyone should read the book, Against the Wall. And Jenn has done so much media. I was just rewatching the piece you did with Dina Takruri of AJ Plus, where I used to work. It was so good, and you visited, the San Diego area, or at least around the border where you used to patrol. And back in 2016, when you started speaking out and really like in so admirably dedicating, your life to this advocacy work, we were naive little angels, weren't? I mean, little snowflakes back then. And now in 2025, we have the militarized, the brown shirts, the thugs, the face masks of Customs and Border Patrol and ICE specifically, that is absolutely off their shit. And just give me your reaction, especially to like the fact that we're going to now, with the big fugly bill, $45 billion more for ICE agents. 100,000 is how many they're aiming to hire. What do you think this means for just the future of this country? Like just talk to me.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. You're talking about, like, I started doing this in 2016, and it's interesting because in the beginning, people would tell me, you're saying that they're racist and that they're going to always do these things, and that they're, violating people's rights, and it's a culture, and you're crazy. And I was just like, okay. Even ended up getting kicked off of MSNBC for saying things that they didn't like. But I mean, my reaction to what I'm seeing now is disgust and shame on, the fact that I ever wore that uniform. But at the same time, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that's immigration work. And it's pretty interesting for me, because what I see is people getting upset and they're like, where are your warrants and all this other stuff? And it's like, well, you don't need any warrants. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I know you think you know what you're talking about. But in all honesty, I mean, I've seen this coming for a long time. I feared it as an agent. It was one of the things that I recognized as an agent that I was fearing that I had joined. And then you think about fast forwarding to 9/11. What happened after 9/11 is the people who we see in charge today, like Rodney Scott, he was actually part of creating the system that we have under DHS with ICE and Border Patrol. ICE and Border Patrol are the exact same culture. CBP is a little bit different, but it's coming over now towards the Border Patrol because they've put Border Patrol agents in charge of it. We're full on a police state, and we have been for a long time. And we've had our rights taken away for us for a long time down here on the southern border, especially. And long before I even came to the scene, quite honestly, I can't take credit for it. I mean, the community down here and the Latino groups and the cultures have been saying this is out of control, but nobody really cared because it was always down here and it was always kind of in the backyard. And I hate to tell people what's coming for us is what we've been doing down here, which is killing people, killing tens of thousands of people, and ignoring that we've been killing tens of thousands of people, and just saying it's just immigration policy. It's national security. Next, we're going to have homelessness is going to be a national security issue, drug addiction, mental health is national security issue, and we're creating camps in this country. We are officially a fascist state, and it's being led by the immigration agencies who've been lying to you all these years, saying they're so overwhelmed, and they're not. And they really haven't been. We used to get more back in the 90s than they do nowadays. The laziest bunch of fucking agents I've ever seen in my life. Bunch of they just rely on censors and stuff. I kind of feel like that's the reason why they've lost any kind of sympathy they might have had. They don't really walk behind them and feel the weather and the things that the migrants are feeling. And so that's essentially where we are, Francesca.
Yeah. I remember doing a little bit of work on reporting on the border, and it was just like, yeah, okay, you're just sitting in your vehicle all day long, air conditioned, just chilling. Doesn't seem, and there's no invasion. That's not happening. And the people you are apprehending are often, women with children or children themselves, unaccompanied minors and all that. But I want to go to, because today and I saw you post a little bit about this today. Kristi Noem is very excited. She's got a really exciting new announcement, which is that if you are of a tender age, if you are older, you too can join ICE because they're getting rid of age limits. Here we go. Boy. Terrorize a street vendor. That is what you will be equipped to do. Jenn, your reaction to getting rid of age caps on ICE agents?
Well, I would have to question their insistence that they have more applicants than they can handle, if that's the case. And I would say that. So we've heard they've begged retired agents to come back, which I have to say, honestly, that was a Biden issue, because they called me and asked me, would you come back if we asked people to come back? And I said, no.
It's like, do you know who I am and what I do?
They said, but would you talk about it and say how great it is? I'm like, no. So, yeah, begging the retired agents to come back, relaxing the mandatory age restrictions, whether that's going to be younger people. I mean, you can already be 17 years old and join the Border Patrol, because just like the military federally, they can't, restrict you because of your age. So if you've graduated high school, you can go in. And that's your first job. And that's the majority of Border Patrol agents. And then they've offered $30,000 to try and get people to sign up. Now it's up to $50,000 bonuses.
Oh,
I would imagine you're going to have to do probably a 4-year stint if you do something like that. And then offering to pay student loans back is also out there as well, which I would imagine would require that you sign away a certain amount of years of your life. I mean, what it shows me is that people do not want to do this job. That's what it shows me.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy. That makes me very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they would not reduce, get rid of the age cap. You're like a 75-year-old. And also, these are also the kinds of people who are joining now. I mean, it is ripe for recruiting anti-government militia people or racists or, whatever. I mean, not necessarily anti-government, you know what I mean? But it's like the one time they'll be like, oh, I'll work for the government. If my face can be masked. I mean, they look exactly like Patriot Front, with their gaiters masking their faces, which again is now a point of legal contention. And, LA did win a suit against the ICE, but it's not stopping anything. Nothing is enforceable. I mean, that's the other thing is none of this is actually enforceable. And it's the reason why, people like Brandie are out and, and with so many others trying to look out for ICE agents, because the local police is not doing that. The, folks here in LA and around, there's no actual actionable steps being done to protect people from this. And I think you mentioned the idea of a warrant is a little bit laughable, because that's not, when you were a Border Patrol agent, that wasn't part of it, right? Or imagining, or when you saw the formation of ICE, it wasn't hey, make sure you've got a signed warrant. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the difference is that being the Border Patrol, so let me explain the difference of the three agencies for your viewers. So there's three immigration enforcement agencies. ICE typically doesn't have a uniform. They might wear a windbreaker and tan pants or something like that, or whatever these days. But they essentially have the ability to go around the United States. They're supposed to do investigations. They're supposed to be targeting people with criminal backgrounds that have been running that we need to get a hold of. So that kind of idea would require an investigation and an arrest warrant and things like that. For Border Patrol, we're in the green. We're in between the ports of entry. We're supposed to be on the border. We're supposed to be right on the border. And so I didn't necessarily need a warrant because I'm watching people cross illegally, or I'm watching their footprints and then tracking them. So out there, it's not as big of an issue. And then CBP is at the ports of entry, and they're blue. We think of them as customs. What we're seeing in LA is what happens when you take immigration enforcement that is being done mostly on the borders, mostly on the southern border specifically, and you bring it into the interior of the United States, which I've been warning about for so many years, but nobody seemed to believe me. That's what we're seeing now. So on the southern border, the Supreme Court has stated in Martinez Fuerte, and agents believe this, that they can use racial profiling, and they teach us this, that you can use racial profiling, because back when that case was decided, and I don't agree with it, but this is what the law is that the majority of people back in, I think it was the 70s and 80s, is that they were Mexican that were trying to come across the southern border. And so they said that could be one of the things that you use, but you need other things to justify that stop. And so essentially we've been getting away with racial profiling forever down here.
Decades.
Nobody really cared.
Yep.
Until it came into the cities.
I mean, yeah, that's the other thing I think the Trump administration, the regime has exposed is like, these are laws that are still on the books. You know, these are things that this is precedent. And again, yeah, the what was the 100-mile radius from any border where CBP can operate. And I remember being stopped in that moment when we were filming down there, and it was very sus and very very upsetting. And now that's just being expanded into, as you mentioned, like the mainland or whatnot. But yeah, like that all of this militarism will come back, just like, in my opinion, you know, foreign wars, the militarism came back to our police departments. The same thing with the border militarization that will turn against, I mean, you mentioned, you know, unhoused people, homeless people. A comedian who has been on the show before, Pallavi Gunalan, tweeted recently, she was like, you know, I promise you they will kill homeless people. Like, this will be a thing, you know, especially, you know, you've got LA being sort of primed for World Cup, Olympics, all that. And, you know, there are unhoused people who are obviously struggling. And it's like, this is the putting people in camp shit, you know, shit that like you know, good liberals sort of always are like, well, that's what China does. You know, that we see, that's what they do to the Uyghurs. And it's like, no, that's what we're doing to people here. Can you just talk about, because the whole time I've been like, we know Trump and MAGA, they conflate, they say they don't, but they do conflate immigrant and criminal. Criminal, immigrant, it's an interchangeable word, but there is actual crime, be it by documented people or undocumented people, it doesn't matter. But I'm thinking to myself, this entire 6 months, what a great time to actually be like a criminal, because you've got, you know, ICE distracted, as you mentioned, you know, they are supposed to go after people who might be, you know, doing unlawful things, not people selling tacos on the streets, and they're doing the latter.
That's because, so the reason why they're doing that is because they've lied to Americans about how many immigrants here have committed crimes. And the majority of the people, ICE does a fairly good job, and they have been doing a fairly good job for quite some time. Definitely the last 10 years, in as far as apprehending criminals, getting them out of jail when they're released, and making sure that they do whatever the law tells them to do, and whether we agree with it or not, at least it's the law. You know, essentially, it's interesting from a Border Patrol perspective. You look at the last 4 years with Biden, and you see how the Border Patrol Union and the Republicans and Fox News and all them were just open borders, open borders, open borders, even though it wasn't true. But yet that's what they were projecting to the news and to everybody all over the world. And it helped draw migrants here. And the invasion of what we really saw was essentially, we're not going to process for 3 to 4 years. And okay, now we're going to process. I mean, everybody knows if you don't process asylum seekers, if you close the asylum seekers, close the system at the ports, they're going to cross illegally. Right. So then you just close it to create this invasion. Then you have the Border Patrol Union work with Fox News to give them the camera shots, and then they get the optics. And now suddenly it's all over. And what we see down here is the Border Patrol is not actually down here. At least half of their force, it looks like, is actually in the cities. And they put the Marines down here. So my old station up in Campo, I went up there, is actually filled with Marines. They don't know how to track. They don't know how to do anything. And they're letting people go. So the same people that were screaming about Biden, allowing people in and not caring about it, are actually doing what they accused Biden of doing. There's nobody down here on the border. And as I say, if you want to smuggle some drugs or some migrants, now's the time to do it before it gets too hot.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's exactly the point, is that, like, when you stop legal pathways, you're not going to actually stop immigration. And it seems like, as we've seen and as you've talked about a lot, and that really the bid is to be as awful and thuggish and scary as the very cartels that people are fleeing, or as the conditions in the countries that they are trying to escape. I'm thinking of Haiti and whatnot. But I wanted to play this because this is just scary. I mean, this is just insane. This is what's happening in, greater Los Angeles, Inland Empire, in Fontana, California. Fontana PD is here. And this is a family, I think, Jose Castro and his family, they've been holed up for days now as they've been stalked by ICE agents. And look at what they do.
Come out! Come out! You can see your cartel accident!
So if you're just listening, sorry about that. I was going to annotate it verbally. And if you're watching, sorry about the Kristi Noem video not having sound. We're getting things correct. What that was basically ICE agents finding like spare keys to their house, saying, "Are these your house keys?" They're capturing them either with a Ring camera or their phones. Towing their car. The dog is barking. I mean, they're just stationed outside of these people's homes. It is truly terrorism. I mean, it is awful. And I don't know, Jen, I cannot have sympathy for the people who do these jobs. I'm sorry. I just I see this, and honestly, I see a lot of Latinos, and look, it is not my place as not being Latina, but still, you are a fucking disgrace. You're a disgrace. Let me just say that as an honorary confused for Latina person. You're a fucking disgrace to la raza. Are you kidding me? It's just it's hard for me. It's hard for me to have oh, I don't know. It's not the military, man. You know what you're doing. You know exactly what you're going to do. It's clear what you're going to do. You're going to go terrorize your community. Someone, and you might be one generation out of being undocumented, and this is what you're doing. So it's kind of this reckoning within also, these honestly brown communities. I saw that there was an Asian guy there. I'm just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I have had older agents that went in when I did. I think that because there were so few of us down here on the southern border, there was less than 6,000 in the whole Border Patrol when I joined. And there weren't as many of us. This isn't to say that we weren't always racist and brutal. We always were. But then we turned around and after 9/11 got billions and billions of dollars. And the oversight agencies we created after that were always compromised, always filled with our ex-agents, always.
Oh my God.
From the get-go. So whether we're talking about, there's different variations of it until what we have today is CBP's Office of Professional Responsibility, which I realize is ridiculous. But at any rate, that's their internal affairs. And then there's DHS's Office of Inspector General. They're all filled with ex-Border Patrol agents and people who do really bad investigations and let the agents get away with everything. And then the courts let us get away with everything. And so essentially what we've created is our federal law enforcement agencies, and we saw this with the Capitol Police during the insurrection. It's why the insurrection happened the way it did, was that our federal law enforcement agencies, the management of them is corrupted with white supremacist and alt-right people that support this fascist group. That's what's going on. That's what they failed to identify during the hearings for the insurrection, and they have failed to address. Rodney Scott, who's he's now head of CBP commissioner, he got that because on the day of the insurrection, he had over 50 men blocks away from the Capitol and was to respond and said, "Oh, I didn't respond because I never got a phone call." You didn't have to tell me. If I had a badge and a gun on that day, you wouldn't have had to tell me I need a phone call to go do that. If my Capitol is being invaded, I would have gone. He stood by. and he stood down on that day. And that is why he is now commissioner of CBP. This is the problem we have.
I mean, it's
very dangerous.
It's terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying also that, I think one of the questions I had for you, and by the way, on those oversight committees, they've been gutted. Kristi Noem has gutted those. Even the ones that you're saying were already compromised because they were all former, agents anyway who, weren't necessarily going to actually bring any real reform. But, my question was going to be like, why are we here? And there's so much that, just like everything else, that the 4 years that Biden was in office, and like, look, it was a big job. We were in COVID. There was a lot that needed to be done, but also winding down and dismantling ICE when you knew it posed a civil liberties threat, when you knew what it was doing, when they were out there whipping migrants on horseback. Yeah. I mean, if that's not a reckoning, and yet he kept on time and again being like, let's work on a bipartisan border bill, and thought that was a W when Trump said don't pass it, and it was like, oh, see, they don't care. It's the same policy, Jen, and so much of the policies about whether it's Biden and Trump in the Middle East or whether it's Biden and Trump on the border really mirrored one another.
And they always do. And that's the problem. People ask me what's the difference, or people sometimes will say, you just love Biden, you just love Democrats. I'm like, I fucking hate Democrats. What are you talking about? I mean, I can't stand Democrats.
Yeah.
I'm far more progressive than that, sweetheart. But it's like, I mean, basically Clinton, the short of it is Clinton brought deterrence policies, which has killed 70,000 plus people out there, including Border Patrol agents, lots of my friends. And so, then you look at Obama. Obama did build the cages for the children. He's the one that started taking children from their mothers as soon as they gave birth here. He was the one that did that. And then obviously everything we had with Trump. And then you get to Biden, and it was funny because when he started running, it was like Voto Latino was like, will you please do a piece and say blah? And I'm like, no. Because I know y'all are lying. And then his people were like, well, would you support us if we did this? Well, we're thinking about giving them a raise. And I'm like, y'all don't understand. The agents in the Border Patrol, it's not about money. It's about ideology. And they think that y'all are wrong, and they agree with all of this other stuff.
And they actively worked against Biden. I mean, again, I hate to draw all these parallels, but they really ring true. But similar to Netanyahu being like, oh, we're best buddies, when actually I just would prefer Trump. Same with CBP. Biden's out there, supporting them, trying to give them what they need and whatever. And they're like, we don't like you. We are like full on. We are led by white nationalists. We are led by these psychos. We don't want anything to do with you. We're going to actively work against you. And it reminds me of, I think, the way law enforcement and cops often operate when they have a political leader they don't like. Like, I'm reminded of, San Francisco PD when they had Chesa Boudin as district attorney. They work against politicians that they think are somehow going to come for their bag, cut their budgets in any kind of way. It's not about safety. It's not about crime. It's just about having, like, again with the unions, these like thuggish outfits. That are like now so out of our control, and it's terrifying. And so, like, my question to you, it's a huge one, right? Is like, what do we do about this? How do we de-radicalize? I mean, you mentioned like January 6th, that was just, it's like Charlottesville. It was just kind of a pop out, peekaboo moment, but they're there, people, the ideology, the same folks, they're still there. Maybe they're working, getting recruited by ICE. What's the immediate demand we have to be making, but what's the kind of like 10-year vision? What's the long term that you've been talking about that you feel like is the way out of this?
Well, I think one of the immediate demands that we have to talk about right now is getting the military out of immigration policing. I mean, immigration policing is civilian policing, and there's a huge difference between military policing and immigration or civilian policing. So that's one of the things. It also violates the Posse Comitatus Act.
That's right.
The Border Patrol, I think we need to start saying as a group, just for right now, an immediate thing is get those motherfuckers back on the border. Get them back on the southern border. If you think this other border is so wide open and people are invading, then get back down there and do it. You can't sit there and say nobody's invading when you're not even counting gotaways. You notice that they used to count gotaways all during the Biden administration, but they're not even doing it. So if border security is actually important to you, then get, La Migra, the green ones, the Verdes, back down on the border. Absolutely must have due process right now. Due process is guaranteed by the Constitution, and it says any person. It doesn't say that you have to be a United States citizen. That has to be immediate. And I would say that we could immediately follow the 1980 Refugee Act that is still law and was signed by Carter, and we should be following it and not separating families and so forth. The longer plan, I would say, just in general, because I know we're short on time, is we need to actually build a goddamn asylum system.
Yes.
Versus just throwing Border Patrol agents. Border Patrol agents is a law enforcement agency. We have law enforcement agencies doing what is a humanitarian need. So we need to actually fund an asylum system and build it and realize and teach Americans the truth about immigrants and immigration. And we need to educate them on why asylum is essential for national security. Like when we were first talking, I was saying, all you have to do is close the asylum system. It does overwhelm the Border Patrol, like they said, with all these people and processing asylum seekers when they should be looking for criminals. Quite honestly, a Border Patrol agent's job should be boring as shit. Right. And once in a blue moon, you find the guys coming across, because it's generally less than 1% of the people you encounter as an agent are these people that we're really looking for. And then we need to talk about immigration system as a positive instead of a punitive one. The only thing, the reason why we've done this is because the people who own the prisons and stuff got to our politicians first and started lobbying and saying, hey, let's make money off of putting people in detention. That's what we've come to in America for a variety of different reasons that are not even criminal. It cannot be legal in this country or any country to hold a human being in custody without at least a serious criminal charge or something.
Yes.
It just cannot be. And so those are things that we can work on, but we have to actually build the system. This constant, we'll kind of meet you halfway and okay, we'll give you 10 billion. And no. Stop giving these agencies money. They've lied time and time again. They told us they weren't separating children. They told us they weren't going to do this. They told us they weren't going, but they're doing all of it. They weren't going to arrest Americans. They weren't going to send people overseas without due process. They're doing all of it. They're a bunch of fucking liars.
Yep.
So that's where we are. But
and
I think, go ahead.
I mean, it's interesting. No, I mean, just we were talking about the, GeoCities and other private prison groups lobbying. And while simultaneously, I mean, so many industries rely on rely on immigrant labor. And they're being hit, right? And they're, Trump is saying that he's going to help those industries. He's not. I mean, it is also a call to kind of a broader labor movement that actually fights for immigrant rights too, because we need to make sure that, people can't be pitted against one another, and folks can safely work here. And then, if they want to leave. I mean, I'm also I'm very much on an abolish ICE tip. I have a hat that AOC sold in 2017 that says abolish ICE. I mean, AOC has not said abolish ICE in the last 6 months. Yeah. And it's disturbing because that is, to me, that's the floor, is getting rid of it. And, even to your point, in 2016, ICE was like, we can't do our jobs. There was, the division in ICE that actually goes after criminals are like, we're getting lumped in with, the rest of this stuff. We're being militarized and whatever to go after people who are not criminals. We're going after workers. We're doing workplace raids. Let's stop this. Please basically dissolve ICE, And so they, even those who were, as you mentioned, were doing good work, they're not able to do their job. So I'm like abolish, but also like, fuck that. I'm all about amnesty too. I don't give a shit. If it was my day one, you're here for 5 years, clean wreck, whatever it is, working hard, go. I don't care.
And people are surprised to hear me say that I support that as well, because it's just such a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of courts and everything else to have people who were bought here as young children or something like that and found out when they're 18 because they go try and get a job at a, I don't know, Pizza Hut or something like that. And they find out that their social security number is not valid. I have a really good friend like that. And it's just a waste of time and money and trauma. It causes so many people trauma all the way around. And it's just ridiculous. Are you telling me that what we're doing now is better mentally for everybody and less costly than just adjusting somebody's status?
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
Seriously.
It's just ridiculous.
And I think that, the last thing is this humanizing piece. It really is on Democrats and on all of us to humanize immigrants. I mean, the way that Trump and Vance were able to sort of run with their eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, I don't know, I just made that up line is wild. And the fact that Kamala Harris was not, you should have been in Springfield the next day meeting with the Haitian community. You should have talked about the work they do. You talk to the residents of Springfield, how they love the Haitian, immigrants there. They contribute to this, community, all that. So it's like, it is an all fronts kind of fight. And, Biden wasn't it. Who would have thought Biden wasn't it, Jen? And now we are fucking in it, and it's terrifying. It's like, it scares me when I think about how radical these folks are.
Yeah.
And that is why I think we have to do multiple things at once. It has to be about giving people off ramps to their to their extremism. Coming together with economic populist message and also a pro-constitution message, as you mentioned. But anyway, Jen, any final thoughts? Thank you so much for being back here again. Former Customs and Border Patrol agent turned advocate, who has an awesome Substack as well, correct?
I do. I have amazing Substack. I talk about all the shit they don't want me to talk about. So yeah.
Have you gotten in it? Has like MSNBC, because I feel like they've been going back to some folks maybe they had on ICE. Have you gotten invites back?
Not a word. The last time I was on there, I was on with Joyce Allen Vance, and we were talking about ICE actually, and it was right when Proud Boys and all these guys were marching around with masks and then their flags, and I noticed that their rhetoric was exactly the same as ICE, and I said, I think we should be very concerned that ICE's rhetoric is the same as these Proud Boys and stuff. Yeah, and everybody was just like, whoa. And then that was the last call I got. So, but yeah, no.
And I think
they just don't put together. I quite frankly, Francesca, I think people are failing to put together that this is a big war. Whether we're talking about the Supreme Court, whether we're talking about Trump and the institutions failing, whether we're talking about the border, the insurrection, all this is connected, and we just don't want to admit it. We want to act like these are all different people with different objectives, and that may be, but their goals are similar and are the same. This is a full-on war, and we need to act like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is also this the media's job. I mean, you got to keep things light so you can sell tampons or whatever. And and I think it's giving, Elon throwing Heil Hitler twice vibes, which is, if we admit that this is exactly what it is, what would that say about us? What does it say about our country that however many, what was the percentage of former military or even active who went to January 6th, who were part of the riots? It's just like, what does it say about this country? And you do not shy away from talking about white supremacy, which I think is really admirable, because that's what everyone gets so freaked out about. And it's not racism.
You talk about it if you're white. People don't want to talk about it. And so that's why one of the reasons why I did it was like, look, you can come out and say the things you've done. You can come out and say these awful things and say, even today, sometimes I'll have somebody go, oh, wait, and I learn, and you learn to be like, oh, well, then I learned. And we can come out of that. And it's just, the book was meant to be like a warning of this is where we're going. And I wish I had called it How We Become Monsters, because obviously I wasn't one of these people when I joined. But yeah.
I mean, I think that is, and I think I've asked you, I hope we see more Jenn Budds, but we haven't, there haven't been as many as I think we would have hoped. But you all should read that book, Against the Wall, out now. Get it at your local bookstore or wherever, but support Jenn and drop that Substack. What is it? People can check out.
Borderland Talk.
Borderland Talk. And you're streaming too, right? You're doing lives. And
I don't do lives. Lives are, as they're complicated, as you know.
They're so complicated. What do you mean? Everything's been perfect.
I wanted to tell you, I really like your deep dive.
Thank you.
I noticed you've gone back to them, and I really like your deep dives. Really
that means a lot coming from you, and thanks so much. There will be more. Jenn Budd, thank you. Take very good care. And everybody, thanks for being here. Some great comments. Census Gary says the Border Patrol now has the status of the military. Whatever happens, we'll throw more money at them every year. Sheep with shotguns. I will never forgive Biden for how he clung to the use of Title 42 against Haitian refugees. That's right. And also Census Gary saying the second border is a line of checkpoints about 70 miles from the real border. Space in between, whereas where I live, it's called a Constitution-free zone. I mean, and that's effectively what we're seeing across the country. A few more comments. Melanie Dennis, I wish Jasmine was progressive. Sigh. Agreed. I mean, she can always evolve. We can always push her, but she's definitely a fighter. So we've got that. Onyx Squared over on Twitch. What's up? Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer need to take a look at her to see what fire and rising to the moment looks like. I think we're talking about Jasmine. I don't want them to look like clones of her, talk like her, but I want them to see how she recognizes a threat of the entire party and speaks to it and strategizes. Yeah. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries should be out in front there as well as well as Chuck Schumer. They're too busy not endorsing Zohran Mamdani. Let's see. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Auntie Vansma. Guys, please check your channel email when you get a chance. I will. Bitiation@gmail.com if you guys want to send in some thoughts. Matthew Giacomo says, Crystal Ball, Cook, Slotkin. Oh, yeah, we talked about it on Saturday. That'll go out very soon, hopefully. So, and here's the thing. If Slotkin goes back on Breaking Points, I will have so much respect for her. Because she did get filleted. And I would have so much respect if you walk back into the lion's den where you know someone's going to ask you a hard question and you've got to answer for it. Now the Zen says there are more of us than there are of them. Otherwise, there would be none of us. Eventually, they realize most of us don't like genocide. Indeed. Just Julie, thank you for your super chat. So sweet. And Brodius as well. Thank you. Supernova 2233. I hope I can make it to one of the live shows if I can afford it. They're reasonably priced. You can get a 2-drink Coke minimum, you know. Donald James, thanks for being a member. And as well as Moondragon. Hey, Moondragon, so good to see you live in Seattle. Thanks for making the trek up from Portland. It was awesome to see you as well. Let's thank everybody. You guys remember we're streaming on Tuesdays now. I'm going to try to do Thursdays with Wajahat Ali, but tomorrow cannot do it. But stay tuned also for a Thursday live stream with him. And let's thank all of the patrones, all the people who are supporting, yes, the long form. See, Jen liked it too, with the fart song. Lily Miller for upgrading. Jeff Fortini for upgrading. You're awesome. Where did my... I had my Twitch up. Thank you, Mumble459 for resubscribing. Snake Anthony 210. Also, Holy Beer Dragon. What's up? Hey, for Antifa. What's going on in Texas? It's crazy. They're trying to remove the seats of young Democrats of power. Yes, they are. Thank you, Pickle Hippie, for also resubscribing. And thank you to everyone who is Donald, James, and Moondragon. Everyone who's sending the super chats for J Cass, Live, Laugh, Love, and Sig Heil. Yeah, I mean, that's effectively what is happening right now. Somebody stop this music. I'm losing my mind. Thank you to Paige Omek, who I didn't thank for the live show, but who absolutely crushed it, despite her bags being lost in the literal ether of the Las Vegas airport. Thank you to Andy Vasoyan and to Brent Godin. Remember to follow us on all the things on Blue Sky, Bituation Room, and Instagram, Bituation Room, Pod. Some of these are Pod. No. Instagram is Bituation Room. And of course, youtube.com/FrannyFio. Make sure you're a subscriber. Make sure you give this podcast 5 stars. And remember to fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it. See you next week. Bye.